They are starting to come in. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. Love y'all. I'll call you when I get off.
So,
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you. And we are gonna give people a few minutes to join and then jump in. Hey, Brother Dillahunt, I see you. Hey, Baba. Hey, Maru. I see you too. Those flowers look pretty behind you guys.
Thank you.
It's actually in Senegal.
Yeah, all right.
You keep coming on my head.
Hey, what is going on?
Man, giving thanks.
Ashe.
Yeah, little tired, but we here.
Listen, you better be tired.
Jamie, I just want to make sure I had everything set.
Hey, Deb, how's it going?
Hi, Amaha, how are you?
Real good. How you been?
Good. Did you survive the grand opening?
Man, yeah, it survived it. It took a lot out of us to get there, you know what I mean? So kind of recovering today, and I'm about to head back over in a little bit, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was amazing. Just the joy. I've never seen so many people cry, man. I'm still trying to unpack what it means, you know? Yeah.
Because like awesome.
I'll get thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, and reason I say trying to figure it out is because, you know, when it was like one or two people once in a while, like through this process, you know, I mean, I was giving thanks, this, that, and other, but now that I'm seeing it's like, it's collective. It's like, what does that mean? You know, like I'm trying to understand like what that means about like either that like a collective trauma response, or what, how does this connect to like what the conditions that we either accepted and now realize we don't have to accept, or I don't know. I honestly don't know what it means, but I'm just seeing so many people. I'm like, yeah, we need to unpack that.
Dreams come true.
I say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey Deb, what can I help with?
I just wanted to make sure I didn't mess something up getting this started. Can you see the controls? It looks like I have everything the way it should be.
Yep, everything looks great. It's recording. The closed captioning is on. Yeah, looks good.
All right, well, that's all I needed. I just need some reassurance.
Perfect. Have a good day, everyone. I'm gonna hop out.
All right, take care. Thank you so much for setting this up.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
All right. I was like, did we lose Arlene? Okay, you moved on me on the screen.
All right. I think we're ready to start. What do you think, Brother Amaha? How you feel?
Yeah. I'm good.
All right, excellent. So listen, I'm gonna drop what could be a basic agenda, but you know, welcome. And we thought we could, if it's a small enough group, we could have people do introductions, say where they're from, their co-op, and what they would like to get out of this session with us today. So how does that feel, Brother Amaha? That's how we begin, how we come in?
Yeah.
Okay, well, actually,
I took some notes from what we talked about a minute ago, and then yeah.
Hey, actually, can we first just get grounded together? Everybody take a deep breath. Have a deep breath. You guys, thanks so much for coming to Black Co-op Day. We're in the session on building unity among cooperatives. We're excited to be with you today. My name is Erin Dale. I want to start by giving thanks to the Creator and the ancestors. They would have brought us this far, and they'd have us in this session together, and then we get to spend some time together. I just wanted to give thanks for that. I also wanted to give thanks for the opening of Gem City and from a co-presenter, and then let him introduce himself. How about that? How about that? That's how we should enter in celebration. You know what I mean? Hallelujah. Abunte, congratulations to the entire Gem City team. You guys opened yesterday. We're watching. We're grateful. And thank you for leading the way.
Hey, thank you very much for everybody. You know, we're all learning from each other. My name is Amaha Sellasie from Gem City Market. Grateful to be here, just grateful to be in the space. And you know, like I like to say, we cut our teeth at Up and Coming a couple years ago, and we learned so much while we was there. And so it's our privilege to continue to walk with everybody and you know, see familiar faces, meet new faces, and just share what we've learned, and continue to soak up the knowledge from everybody else too, you know, that we can continue to, you know, create in our communities, right? Cool. Do we want to go around, have everybody introduce themselves, or? Cool.
Yes, yeah. You want to just hand it off and start off?
Brother Jambo, you wanna start off, or?
Okay, so yeah, I'm a Jamu Dillahunt. I'm with the Fertile Ground Food Cooperative here in Raleigh, under the leadership of Erin and Rukia, and just happy to be here. And I don't expect to get a whole lot out of this session. I'm blown away by the earlier session that the two of you did. And then the pictures of Gem City opening, I'm good, but I'm gonna hang in there.
Okay, so I'm Rukia Dillahunt with Fertile Ground, and I am just so excited to be to this conference this year because it's all this Blackness. And I'm telling you, it's just one workshop after another, and all of this good information and all of these Black co-ops opening up. I just cannot wait until Fertile Ground said, what? We are open. So good to see everybody, and looking forward to the workshop.
Sure.
And I
second that.
Okay, Arlene, is that Arlene? I can't see good. Is that?
Greetings, everyone. I am Arlene Wilborn, the General Manager for the Northland Food Market. As you can see right behind me, our grand opening is 2022 of March. So we're starting groundbreaking in the month of July. Glad to be here. And I will pass it off to Carlos.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, great, brother. Yeah, we can hear you. We're just kind of introducing ourselves, name, where you're from, anything else you want to share?
Oh, cool. So my name's Carlos Coleman. I've been coming to the Up and Coming conference for, oh man, maybe 4 years now. Deb probably knows better than I. I'm currently a student at American University, pursuing my doctorate in anthropology. Love co-ops, have embraced the movement since before I can remember, but haven't always seen myself in a lot of it. So, you know, the work that everyone's doing today and throughout history has been very, how should I put it, moving for me. So I'm happy to see everybody here. Really anxious to see where the conversation goes. I really enjoyed the pre-recorded session. So, and also just really happy to see everyone's faces. So.
Cool, good, thanks, brother. You want to pass it to somebody else, or somebody else want to?
Sure, Erica.
Hello, hi, good morning. Oh, it's afternoon, goodness. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Erica Hardison, and I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida with One Community Grocery Co-op. I don't know, they've been coming for about, I guess it's 3 or 4 years now. Time is going by fast. And so just glad to see everyone and being able to reconnect and getting great information. I will say I would love to see you all in person, but I am enjoying this platform. Have still been able to connect with a lot of people, so it's really good. Thanks, everyone. And I am going to pass it to Damon.
Hello, my name is, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, we hear
Can you
you.
hear me? Okay,
Yep.
okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Damon Lawrence. I'm with Long Beach Grocery Cooperative. I am the board director of Long Beach Grocery Cooperative. We are about 7 years into this project, which excuse me, outside. You see, I'm at work right now, so I'm kind of dual tasking right now. I'm a firefighter in the city of Los Angeles. So, but I live in Long Beach, California. And as I said, we have been forming this co-op for the last 7 years. We are just about to sign our first lease. So that's good news on a location. So we're working through all the particulars on that right now. We have about 700 member owners. It's not an African-American co-op per se. We have a lot of African-American members of our cooperative, but Long Beach is a very blended community, very diverse community. So, but I am the board director and have been leading it. I'm also the founding member of the cooperative.
Cool. Good. Thanks, Damon. Congratulations. You want to pass it to somebody or somebody else want to join in?
Actually, if somebody could join in, because I'm on the phone right now, so I can't see.
Got you. I'm sorry, Brother Garrett, you're on mute if you're trying to speak. You know what? I'm wondering, you might have to log off and come back in. There might have been something where it asked you what button to press for your mic. You might have pressed the non-computer screen button. Okay, yeah, that's how I'll try. Y'all didn't know I can read lips now. Okay, so
You're so funny.
Carol, would you want to go?
Carol, you're on mute too.
I wonder if she might have stepped. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
There she is.
All right, wonderful. No, I was just apologizing for joining late, so I didn't get clear directions on what I'm supposed to do now, but I'm glad to tell you I'm here at College Town Farm, Atlanta, Georgia, truly living well. We have not started a co-op as of yet, but we are planning now and thinking about this for our community. We just got ownership of our land in this past summer. And so we're really looking to doing more place-based programming. So we would want to do something in our space. So I'm just hearing a lot of great information and glad to be here today.
Wow, congrats. We got a lot of wins, man. I'm loving it. Yes. Now, you know what? What are the two options? I'm trying to remember, like when you hop back on, I think somehow you're disconnecting your mic.
So sometimes what you can do is if you look at the microphone on the left, and you select the arrow rising up, you'll see something that says select a microphone. And sometimes if you press same as system and just alternate between microphone and same as system, it typically, lets you in somehow. I've had that problem too. So still not working.
Okay, you gonna type it in?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
That sounds good.
Yeah, sorry about that, Gary.
Yeah.
You just read lips, Amaha.
Magic.
I'm gonna add it to my resume. No,
Right. Excellent. So listen, Amaha, I thought maybe, how about you start, I'll show this agenda so folks can see. We just kind of gonna go back a little bit. So this session is on the building Black unity and cooperation and movement. And I'm gonna just present this slide. This slide is just a slide that shows, this is a quote from Jessica Gordon Nimhard's book, Collective Courage, about the history of African-American cooperativism and its role in building and supporting the civil rights movement. And just a ping to say that we see ourselves as part of that struggle right now. We did a pre-session, and I thought maybe, Amaha, if you want to say a couple words about that pre-session. And then what we wanted to do is lay a framework for a conversation we'd like to have about the needs of the Black cooperative movement in this moment. And then we're going to do a participatory budgeting exercise if we're able to get to that. And then figure out where we go from there. How's that sound? All right.
Good to me. Yeah, I think good thanks, Erin. I wanted to start by, like, I guess, like, how do we situate ourselves in as co-ops inside of this movement, right? Like that is taking place. And I kind of wanted to hear like what were some things that like the kind of, anything that stood out from the pre-session that you wanted to talk about or build on, or that you thought was interesting, or you wanted more clarity on, or wanted to add to. I kind of wanted to open up the space to that, because I think ultimately it's like how we become what we're becoming together, right? And how we're co-creating. And so I want to get everybody's voice into the room and thoughts. Let's see. Cool.
Hey, so you're asking for reflections on the last session? If
Yeah,
folks had a chance to listen to it around movements?
Yeah, well, or just in general, was there anything that anybody had heard in the previous one that they wanted to have a deeper conversation on, or?
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll start. Well, one thing that came up for me was, I think, something that Erin said around engaging intermediaries and funders in a how should I put it, in a productive way, in a way that isn't that respects the values and the missions and the objectives and goals of cooperatives. And I think that it came up for me in particular because of my previous role within the USDA. I'm still employed at the USDA, but before as a primary funder, and recognizing many of the barriers that Black cooperatives in particular face with accessing that funding, and then also understanding some of the mechanisms also in place that is meant to kind of bring people within the fold, but I think in a way that's not necessarily cooperative, is, many would probably call it tokenism. So, I would venture to ask, you all to maybe elaborate a little bit more around not just your vision, but also work around engaging funders in a more productive, in a more equitable, I know that's the buzzword these days, but in a way that really, I would argue, doesn't give away our collective power or force us to sacrifice or compromise, the values of cooperativism.
Wow, thank you for that. We were going to talk a little bit about collective impact model and some reflections on that, which might be a possibility, but I would just say that we have to build that intermediary to hold the ground that we're talking about. We have to build that intermediary for ourselves. So this idea that we have back office, I want to say administrative and operational support that is shared among Black cooperatives that helps us to do the work that we're doing better. And that is something that we're seeking to build. And I hope that even we'll get feedback and information from this session that will guide the development of the intermediary work that we're currently doing.
Yeah, the first thing that sticks in my mind, thank you, Erin, when I heard what you said, Carlos, is language, and like how is cooperation framed? You know what I mean? Like what does it mean? What does it look like? And sometimes they use this, they use language, but in actuality, it's not cooperative. You know what I mean? And so, like, how are we framing? How are we defining our own narratives? And within that, how are we framing what it means to cooperate? You know what I mean? Like that journey that we're learning together and developing that practice, and then like how that relates to the power structures, it was interesting. We're being recorded, so I better not go there. Okay, so we'll have some interesting things came about, but yeah, I better not go there. But I think it's how we interact with funding sources, right? And keeping our ideals of who we are, and not deviating from it, and so like to me, it's like sticking to our vision and what we're about, and some funders aren't gonna like it, and some funders are, but still like realizing the practice. And I think the key too is building a base. You know what I mean? Because the more that we show that like we're building a base around the thing, then the more it's like they have to respond and adjust. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of times when some institutions may try to talk about cooperation, they're not actually looking for cooperation. You know what I mean? And like a shared power structure sense of the word. Great question, Carlos. Other thoughts or comments about what Carlos said, or anything else that stood out from the first one? Aha moments and anything. All right. Well, so I think like shifting into what we're looking at. So to me, like I think part of what is like how we build our ecosystem, and like so like how are we building, how we're cooperating amongst ourselves, how are we building an ecosystem, how are we building our governance model, which could be that intermediary that Erin was just talking about, but like how are we building out our network of how we're relating to each other, and how we're building power. Like, Erin talked about the principal struggle, earlier, what I mean? And so like how are we truly building out our praxis and our ecosystem locally too? Because I think there's two parts to this, right? One is like how we're building local infrastructure, and then how like our co-ops then connect to other co-ops that are also building their local infrastructure. You know what I mean? So like different types of architecture is being connected together. You know what I mean? So we're connecting with Flint, and we're connecting with Long Beach and like how we're putting all this together. Florida, you know what I mean? So yeah, toward building power. Okay, so you want to look at the collective impact or the slide?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're gonna go next to show a model. I'm gonna back up a little bit and say that there's a couple of assumptions in what we're gonna show you. So the first assumption that we're making is there's probably about 25, 30 Black co-ops across the country in different stages of development. The second assumption is that all those co-ops want to work together to build more power and more people's power and more transformative power. And then the third assumption is that we're going to have to build this infrastructure for ourselves because it doesn't actually exist. And that's the process and the work of supporting and building our own movement, building some infrastructure that would support us collectively while we do the individual work. And then I think the last thing that I want to say as it relates to this assumption is that that local work that we have to do and the work of movement, like they have to feed off each other. They're completely connected. Amaha, you want to say anything else about that? I'm gonna pull up the collective impact slide.
No, I think I'm good. I just want to, I guess, before we jump into, I just want to make sure that I want to make sure this is meaningful for everybody here. So is there any other topics that you want to talk about before we go down this rabbit hole? I just want to make sure that is there anything else that we missed that you want to talk about? All right, well, hop down the rabbit hole because I love collective impact because even we've been doing a lot of press and different stuff right now as we've been opening, and I've been saying like we always joke that our ability to collaborate is our superpower. You know what I mean? Like even the Gem City Market, it started with a little thing, and the hospital closed, and next thing you know, we had a health clinic. You know what I mean? And we got teaching kitchen. Like we kept expanding, spanning out and building collaboration. You know what I mean? Which I think is at the heart of collective impact. So. Yeah, I think it's a different way. And to me, it goes back to the underlying assumption of independence versus interdependence, because once we truly step into that reality of interdependence, then collective impact is a logical conclusion. You know what I mean? It's like all these things like go within the logic of we're interconnected in that we have a shared future, and so yeah.
And also just offering a model as a way to organize our conversation today too, and it'll help us with our discussion. So this is the basic model of collective impact. And the idea of collective impact as a framework is that if you want to do something super, 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 super hard, that you need a lot of people across different places and races and sectors to do it together. And if we want to build a transformative cooperative movement, Black cooperative movement, with hundreds of stores and hundreds of employees that's transforming the economy as well as making real change in our own community, feeding and caring and building belonging and systems of care that are sustainable in our own communities. And it's going to take a lot of work of all of us to do it. So this was just a framework to organize our conversation. And it simply is saying that to build a huge effort to change something, that you need 5 things. You need 1, a common agenda, 2, shared measurement systems, so ways of tracking your success together. 3, mutually reinforcing activities, which is this idea that you have activities that are connected to your overall impact. 4 is communication being continuous, and I would also say clear and transparent and full of integrity. And then the 5 thing is backbone support, which is there's some kind of organization or entity or coordination team that's holding the whole thing together. Amaha, do you want to say anything about this? And we're offering this as a way to just think about, as a movement, what would we need as a Black co-op movement to advance our work together? And I'm gonna stop right there and let you build on that.
Yeah.
And also, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Erin.
I was going to also say that it's important to build our own models and not just use theirs, but it's a helpful framework to just organize our thoughts. But we may want something completely different for ourselves and make space for that too. What's missing?
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, like, to me, you know, what is going to be the most meaningful thing for each of our co-ops, you know, where we're at now, you know, and you know, collective impact, you know, it also includes just like how we're, you know, sharing resources, you know, with each other, you know what I mean? And there's one thing that stood out when we're reading it right now is like, have we, and this may have already been done, right? But have we already like officially named National Black Food Justice Alliance as like the number 5? You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Like have we named the things that are already there in our ecosystem as like, yo, this is the thing that we're you know, the framework that we're building out or something like that. You know what I mean?
We haven't. Oh God, do that. That's just why I like to work with you so much. Yes, actually, I think you should name that. That would be so helpful for people to even hear.
Yeah, so you know, like I think it's like how we start going deeper into this and like looking at like what are the core competencies that we have right now, you know what I mean, that exist, and then how to build off of that, you know. But yeah, that's all I was gonna say. So, what up, Eric? You want to introduce yourself real quick?
John,
Peace, y'all. Peace.
Peace. Tell us where you're from.
Sure.
We speak to you, Ajambo.
Brother Eric, Baltimore. I'm organizing with Cherry Hill Food Co-op, which is anchored by Black Youth Institute, which I've served as serving director. Appreciate this, and my apology for my tardiness.
Oh, it's all good. It's good to see you, brother. So it's all good. So yeah, we was getting a conversation to explore collective impact. So Erin, you wanna go to the next slide?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it back up. Hey, Brother Eric. This is the collective impact slide that we were showing. And while we're on this slide, I want to do a little history, which is when we came together last year in Up and Coming as Black cooperators, we named some priorities as a movement in the session. Do some of y'all remember being, if you were in that session, just put your thumbs up for a second. Do you know the session that I'm speaking of? Okay, right, Brother Eric, I know you were there. Yeah, I remember. Ajamu, y'all, we were there. There may be other people there. And there was a lot of people in the session, and there were a lot of priorities that came from that session. A lot, y'all, a lot. And so we were building this session to talk a little bit about that. Brother Jambo, I know you had a comment. You want to share your reflection now?
Yeah, so it's on 2 levels. One is in terms of the question of the backbone support organization, and you know the question of whether or not the National Black Food and Justice Alliance could be that. As I listened to the presentation this morning, I thought I got a sense that they've got a section for cooperatives. And if that's the case, you know, I guess many of us believe strongly in not trying to recreate the wheel and you know, creating different structures that end up being you know, just wasting time or at odds, actually. So that's something to think about. I mean, you all are having those conversations, and I just encourage that. You know, if that's the place for it, it seems like a great framework because it's also got the piece on the land issues, the supply chain, all of that, so connected. So that's one point. The other one is that, I mean, the two of y'all have been thinking about this very deeply. The rest of us are just like watching and, appreciating what you're doing. But the communication, which I guess is the number 4, that piece. So there's going to be that communication between leadership of these organizations, but I think we need to quickly deepen the relationship between the members. And so that the membership is hearing about and seeing the work of the 35 and growing organizations, right? And so they don't need Amaha and Erin or Rukia and Ajamu to tell them about it, but they're seeing it through a newsletter or through videos or, whatever. So communication on the membership level across the organizations, I think is something we ought to consider as we try to build it out.
I absolutely love that because at first, when you said the first part, I'm sorry, Eric, you go ahead, chime in.
No, you got it. Keep moving.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I think like when he first said that, and he said that, the leadership connecting, the first thing I was like, see, that's the spoke in the wheel though, because it's like we need to get members talking to members collectively, period, because that's how you build that power base that, like, I moved to Ethiopia and don't have internet, you know what I mean? The show goes on or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's how we're building, the power is going to be in connecting the members. And I really love your idea of an easy next step is how we're building some shared literature, right? Or like, Marcus Garvey, he opened up, any place he went, he opened up 2 or 3 newspapers, you know what I mean? Like right away. So it's like how we, increase our communication amongst members that we can not only learn from each other, build the deeper relationships, but also leverage the gifts and talents that is amongst, all the members of the various co-ops, you know what I mean? And so like that to me seems like paramount, you know what I mean? Because like oftentimes we kind of build, I think we need to build from there, like for real. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay. That's great. That's excellent. And I'm taking notes so that we can work with what we're learning together. Other reflections that folks might have on, this is the question of what do we need? So we should give a little bit of a history lesson to Amaha, just a little background. So you all may all know that both Amaha and I and others are working on a fund called Collective Courage. You guys heard a little bit about that in the last session. That's right. Thank you for the context you did. So Collective Courage is a pooled fund of resources for Black cooperatives for membership and organizing. And that fund is currently being held at the partnership funds, which is where I work, Erin, where I work. And it is being led by a consultant firm called Piece by Piece Strategies. It's also part of the self-determining food economies of the National Black Food and Justice Alliance, and folks in that committee of the self-determining food economies have developed a survey that's gone out to and interviewing a number of Black cooperatives across the country, gathering information for that to build a governing model for that fund, and that fund would then support our membership and organizing. And so for full transparency, the fund gave away 3 grants last year. One went to Gem City for $20,000, one went to the Yield Institute for $20,000, and one went to the Come Up Project for $20,000 as gifts. And then funding went to the National Black Food and Justice Alliance, $30,000 to pay for their staff, which is really Jasmine, which I think opened this morning. So we're trying to really do this work while we're talking, like we're talking and building while we're talking. And ultimately what we want to do is support the Black cooperatives to open faster, to grow their membership faster. And we want us to save our own money and reduce the duplication in the operating and the organizing, help our local efforts. Basically, we build some support for our local efforts so all the local efforts can get stronger, and then our whole movement would get stronger. And so as it relates to this slide here on the question of the conditions, and this backbone support organization has really been the National Black Food and Justice Alliance, along with the Food Co-op Initiative. They have done a lot of support to help that, and so just want to speak truth to that. But what we haven't, with these other systems, we really probably haven't done or built it out like we would like to, though there's a lot of ways we're working together and supporting each other. There's 2 participants that have raised hands, Amaha. I see that. So can we grab those folks?
Yeah. I know Eric was trying to get in earlier, so
thank you.
Yeah. Eric, you want to go first?
Peace, y'all. Yeah, give thanks. I'll be quick. I promise. I'm traveling, so I'm off video. My apology for my absence. But my thought is for number 4. One of the things I think would be great, a continuous communication channel and thinking about how we communicate is political education. Political education being critical and key, and I don't mean in lecture type of deal, but I also think that National Black Food and Justice Alliance has created space for this, but the knowledge sharing that we're doing together, many of us have our own ways of doing political education for members of our co-ops or just in general. But that's just something I want to lift up as a way to have constant communication. And I've been thinking a lot about this idea of confederacies. How do we, and I was just in y'all's last session, how do we actually materialize, or from my perspective, how do we materialize that continuous building of us? I think that maybe political education and the ways in which we develop collective language with one another and share ways of being might be ways to be in constant communication and not just, again, having the political education.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely feeling that, you're making me think about, I know, so we had come to up and coming, I want to say 3 years before we brought more of our members. And last year we brought I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of our members. And the experience was so impactful because it allowed them to have conversations with other members and other co-ops, and it's hard to communicate what is actually taking place without having ways for everybody to connect and meet, you know what I mean? And so we brought, I think 2 board members and a couple community members, and it really transformed how they saw and understood what was taking place, and so how to build that shared language, and it might be something as simple as just having a watering hole where it's we take turns doing some type of popular education or something, you know what I mean? Doesn't have to be hard, but how to create the space where we're building a collective vision and we're leveraging the gifts and talents. So yeah, I really like that idea, Eric. Other thoughts on what Eric said or in the comments? Brother John, is your hand raised from before, or do you want to say something else too? I wasn't sure. Okay, cool, no problem. Okay, is there any other thoughts and comments about was it number 4, the communication? And even so, I'll give another example. So we built out the phone banking, and one thing that we understood about a lot of co-ops haven't built out their infrastructure, not just not phone banking per se, but the infrastructure of like the back end stuff to like to build up the capacity, you know. And we were blessed to have Rachel, who does an amazing job of like putting together some of these back end systems, you know what I mean, to be able to like use data, communicate, you know what I mean. And so like how we're building infrastructure, you know what I mean. And so like how to support co-ops in building infrastructure, but then how we're building our infrastructure together, you know what I mean? That we're really, able to share power and resources, you know what I mean? So it's got me thinking about like this. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that like, who's the Rachel at Fertile Ground, right? Who's the Rachel at Cherry Hill Co-op, and then how are they talking to each other, right? So we're talking, we're connecting the co-ops based upon like the different roles and functions that we all have, right? As a way to, just creating another thread of the multi-threads that we're trying to connect with.
Ma, you take me right to the next thing that we were really kind of wanting to talk about, which was getting folks to think about, what do you feel like our movement most needs now? We showed and talked about continuous communication, but there's these other areas of having a common agenda, having a set of measurement systems to track our success, and the types of activities that we could do together to move our agenda. And I want to take us to this slide real quick, which is a summary. So I mentioned that we got together a couple of years ago. We had a huge session. It was a lot of co-ops. We named a whole bunch of priorities. And when I tell you a lot, there was well over 100 different things that came out of that session. And then, we've done some narrowing, but just want to highlight that these were some of the highlighted things that people said from that session. So it was like policy and advocacy, organizational development, this is to your point, sort of internal systems like databases, et cetera, shadowing and exchanges among cooperatives, more money, creating a directory of Black-led cooperatives. And there's actually a survey going out now that could help us with some of that, like we get some information on who they all are and stuff. So strategic tactics that attract more people to cooperatives. We talked about media, visibility, normalizing cooperatives in the culture, and then swag and other materials to show that. So like, and then we had Black-owned suppliers list, green books, consultants, and then getting firms to do market studies. There was political education. There was general managers training. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that came out of that. So I want to stop, and I could show more of the stuff that came out of that session if folks would like to see that. We're prepared to show the list, or just listen to our experience now, because this was stuff from a year ago, and have you all share what you feel like some of the priorities for our movement are in this moment to inform what we do after we get off of this phone and leave the conference this year. Amaha, you want to add to that? Does he feel like that's right where we're supposed to be, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's good, because those are things that have already bubbled up, and now it's time to which ones are people interested in. Go ahead,
And
Erica.
I see Erica's hand again.
Yeah, hello. Can you put that slide back up, Erin? Because I just wanted to talk a bit about that as well. But I totally agree with what everybody is saying. And, this, I think I might have been part of the first or second session when this all came about. And so I really think the connection piece is really important, because when we talk about Black-led co-ops and just the networking that Up and Coming has done for Black-led co-ops, like I wouldn't know any of you all probably if it wasn't for that. So I think creating a directory of Black-led co-ops is really important, so those connections could be made. And they're in policy and things like that as well. Some of the things I feel like some of these are really parallel. and we need different groups working on different sections to move it forward so that we can accomplish more over time. And I had a point and I'm losing it right now, but really in terms of how to build co-ops capacity is really important. Like I was listening to what Amaha was saying about Rachel and how she created some back-end things that really probably help to catapult your base growing. And it is true, like everybody needs this base and to really keep going. We need a base to push policy forward. We need a base to, make sure co-ops are growing and moving. So I would say those are the things that stand out just from my standpoint at my co-op's developmental stage. So I know others are in different stages, and I think that will also determine what priorities are as well. I'm done speaking, thanks.
Excellent, excellent.
You know what, like, I got a question. So you mentioned Erin, thank you, Erica, because you got, so like, Erin, you had mentioned there's what, you said there's 30 Black co-ops? Like
I said 25, about 25 from.
Well, that's news to me. You know what I mean? So to Erica's point, you know what I mean? Like it would be good to have some kind of directory. Cause like on a side note, I was telling my GM about Arlene like 3 days ago. I was like, we need to connect because, we're having questions. We have AWG right now as our supplier. And I heard Arlene talk and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to make sure that we got the best supplier, And so I was telling her to connect to Arlene. And so like those are the things that we can do when we have those type of spaces.
Right.
Now
You
gonna say something?
I'm just excited. No, I wasn't gonna say anything.
No, Arlene had unmuted herself, so I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just want to say that would be a great asset to every co-op if we had a directory and we had names, because there may be someone in our co-op world that is great when it comes to produce. So I may have a question that I can just send a direct email to that one person and say, hey, how can I get the best produce in my co-op grocery store? And then I can provide information when it comes to HR, when it comes to just as GM director. So I think we all have something to share. We just need to have somewhere where we can just keep it all archived. Thank you.
Okay, keep them coming. Excellent. So I'm hearing from you all continuous communication being a real priority, communication among members, building some way for that. And then now I'm also hearing a directory. Because what's going to happen out of this session is you'll see these things manifest. So we're listening to take action. I just want to name that too, right, Amaha? Because we be trying to get stuff done up in here, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're in a collective of doers, right? And so that's what makes it so powerful, And to me, I don't think and I think the other thing too is simultaneous advancement of all fronts. So we don't have to have, the director doesn't have to be perfected before we, you know what I mean? It's like we could put something together and we build it up, and you know what I mean? But I don't see why we couldn't leave this conference having that directory, at least a simple framework done. You know what I mean? And we keep adding to it as more come together. I know Erica and John, I'm not sure who was next. You can rock, paper, scissors it or however.
Okay, well, I'll go. So this goes back to Arlene's point, or at least it triggered this. If you all recall, a couple of years ago, there was this discussion about the lack in general of general managers for co-ops, right? And especially Black general managers. And it's like, well, where do they come from? Do we go to the general grocery industry and bring them out and train them up in the kinds of things that we need in a co-op or whatever? And people were like, well, yeah. but like, how do we develop a network of training people right now so that these 35 that are in motion, right, will have access to people, maybe just recently trained or whatever, but to be able to do that, that's part of the ecosystem, particularly in the grocery, aspect of co-ops that we've got to deal with. Now, I don't know if that's the top of this list, that, because I agree with all the stuff that we've said so far, and that may be a little further down the list, but I hope somebody's keeping that in mind. That may be something that FCI can help with in terms of, developing a leadership training academy for Black general managers.
And I would like to add to that, that is one key thing that we're going to have at the Northland Food Market is a mentorship for young people who are coming right out of high school, showing them how to delegate, showing them how to execute. How do you show customer service and still be able to execute a plan to your team? So that is one thing that I think that we should all be thinking about, our future. Who is going to be our future leaders? Who's going to replace, like myself? I want to have that person ready to go. So that is one thing that we are going to encourage at our store once it's open next year.
Yeah, I mean that is the huge deficit, right? Like succession planning and general managers in general that are Black, and even exploring, different ways of developing that capacity, and getting more people into that pipeline. I think is critical. It's something that we had talked about at another meeting, must have been 3 weeks ago, this notion that a Black general manager, especially if they operating inside of an underdeveloped community, is a different skill set than a general manager that's operating a co-op that's not an underdeveloped community like that. You know what I mean? And so it's like how to have a specialized training that is based upon our needs and parameters and the environments that we're working in, and from how we analyze data, how we pull data, what I mean, like there's so much things that I think we need to really define for ourselves, what I mean, because we're moving into this new space, and we're using a system that has shown success, but hasn't fully been able, it's not totally adaptable to our environment, right? And so Erin, and then even Dara in her talk about the notion of governance, from that talk earlier today, you know what I mean? Like really taking ownership of how we're directing and how we're making things that are for us and by us, you know what I mean? And learning best practices, this, that, and other, but also, tailoring it to what we need, you know what I mean? Because, like we're just operating from a completely different space, when it comes to certain things.
I want to throw back this to you to make sure that we're hearing what I think we're hearing as feedback. So that model, right? So the backbone National Food and Justice Alliance, common agenda, growing our local Black co-ops and our movement, leadership training and strengthening our capacity, continuous communication, like a directory or a newsletter. I didn't have anything for mutually reinforcing activities. I didn't hear that, or really. And then shared measurement systems, I'm just going to offer that our co-ops are growing and that the health and the wellness of our co-ops is stronger. I guess that would also mean, and we could think about other ways that we would measure whether or not our work would be successful, but I just want to offer a little bit of a synthesis of what I'm hearing to make sure that we leave the session with some things to share back to movement. And I see 2 hands raised again, but I can't see who because I'm operating off my
I think,
screen.
Carlos was first, and then
Okay, thank you.
Hey, just real quick, because I have a little bit of experience with the directory work. It can also, the directory, the newsletter, and the shared measurement systems can in many ways tie into one another, especially as I heard you kind of talk about measuring the number of co-ops and whatnot. A directory could be used as a list frame for that measurement. So, and you'd also kind of develop surveys too to kind of test the pulse of your membership, see what their needs are out of that directory.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. You maybe also think that if we could use these tools internally and externally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like collectively, but also like building up our own capacity. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I like, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking at least initially internally, and not necessarily externally. I think in my experience, when you do build a lot of that, a lot of the data, and you get a lot of the people actually using it, it becomes a huge asset to the external world. But then you run into issues of privacy and whatnot, and proprietorship. But yeah, that's all I had to offer.
Excellent. Excellent.
So yeah,
great. Go ahead, brother.
Great. Okay, yeah. So in terms of the mutually reinforcing activities, another thing, we're talking about movement building. So, movements have these key dates and celebrations and convergences. In the labor movement, it's May Day. In the African Liberation Support movements, it's African Liberation Day. It's Workers' Memorial Day. It's Earth Day or whatever. We could develop a day to celebrate Black solidarity economies or Black cooperatives or whatever. We can either just pick a day that, seems to work, or we can find one that has some significance to our historical struggles, right? And just begin with that. And that's an activity to build around and whatnot.
Wow, I love that. Cause that's how you build culture, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a real good idea. I have no idea what that date could be, but I love the idea of collectively exploring, learning our history.
And look, I just want to say this, a lot of people who have critiques of Kwanzaa, like that's some made up shit. Yeah, it is. Everything is made up. It starts at some point for a particular reason. We got a reason to create a particular day for Black cooperatives.
I say. Brother Eric?
Yes. I was thinking that point. I think, creating culture has to be a fundamental activity of movement building, So I was thinking that, and I was just reinforcing something that I shared before and thinking about those activities. There are, thinking about when I first jumped on, Erin was talking about like frameworks and us having our own frameworks and not utilizing the frameworks that have been lifted up. And that's something that's come up every year that I've been up and coming. And if I'm honest, when the first year we came a couple of years back, it was like when other people were saying, I was like, I knew we not crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like this framework is cool, but it is white as hell, So with that being said, I feel like if we could utilize some kind of publication, whether that's newsletters or whatever, to actually share these types of ideas, events, common cultural celebrations, or even just like so-called promising practices or what have you, spotlighting histories and practicing Sankofa. This whole practice of Sankofa, I think, is critical too, but also just kind of lifting up what we're doing and learning from each other. I feel like, and whether that publication is a newsletter or something more substantial, I think that could provide opportunity to get people's engines, moving and flowing and figuring out, those ways of reinforcing activities through that, you know what I'm saying, just by sharing what we're doing. So that's all. And I would say for almost everybody on this call, whether it's been in these types of webinars or after the conference is over, or when the conference isn't going on, being in relationship, that's how some of the things we reinforce what we already had planned, or get excited about new things, because it's just like being in communication and conversation with each other. So just lifting it up.
Yeah, no, I love that, you know what I mean? Because it makes me think about emergence. And I think culture and narrative development is real critical, because that's how you build structure, you know what I mean? And so like how these seeds can germinate to then build out that larger infrastructure that we're talking about. So I appreciate it. And like, I'm kind of on one right now, and I didn't even realize I was on one till I'm in this call right now. So I gotta ask another question, right? So, I'm hearing a lot of people mention movement, right? But like for me, I feel that like Black co-ops are synonymous with movement, because we a lot of times we're coming out of struggle and like necessity, not just, it would be nice to have something, but like, I don't know if we've named that as like part of like the Black co-op framework, you know what I mean? Like as a collective, you know what I mean? And so like, I'm wondering if we have or haven't, and if we haven't, if that's something that we could bring up at this conference, right? Like is there a shared understanding, a shared agreement that like, this actually is like movement work? You know what I mean? Because like, even like that shift in framework changes how we organize, changes how we build, you know what I mean? This, that, and the other. And so, yeah, I'm late to the party, you know what I mean? So like, that could already be an assumption, but I'm just curious, you know what I mean? If that's the case or not. Is your hand raised again, Brother Jamu, or?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. Like it doesn't automatically go down, so it gets a little tedious.
I've seen it happen before go down when I didn't want it to go down, but now.
That's technology for you, for sure. So I don't know, Eileen, Eric, Carlos, Gary, Erica. Anybody did anybody have any idea? Like, had that already been something that because that's actually a different framework than a lot of co-op building, you know what I mean? Like movement, but also movement then automatically connects us to others, right? So like if we're a movement, we're in a movement with Flint, you know what I mean? If I'm in a movement, I'm in a movement with, Baltimore and DC and Florida and North Carolina and Detroit, and you know what I mean? Like it shifts how we see each other. If we're talking about building that shared identity, you know what I mean? And maybe it's already been there, but I'm not sure. So yeah. Any thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think you're right, Amaha. A movement is a different framework, and so, but I think we can get there. I think we can get there with doing both, but I'm not sure. In terms of, like, I would say I'm in a movement, but I don't know. Go ahead, Carlos. Sorry.
You're fine. Actually gave me some time to think a little bit more. I guess to answer your question, Amaha, it's always been assumed for me that the work being done, particularly at Up and Coming, I was a part of, one of the first urban, markets dialogue, but then also there was a rural, there was also a rural co-ops one as well, and some of the same issues. And while the audience was a little wider there than the urban one, but the same issue of like food apartheid and lack of agency and lack of self-determination was just present, and it really struck me. But I oftentimes see this work as movement work, in large part because of what gets assumed as kind of what constitutes economics. And so, like, you know, a large part of what is being done at the conference, at least from what I'm seeing, is like reclaiming and reestablishing what economics means. And it's more within kind of a political economy and less in terms of dollars and cents and profit. And so, to the extent that folks everywhere are pushing back against kind of that language of economics, it is tied to a larger kind of movement to reclaim and build an economy for everyone. So at least that's how I'm thinking it through. And it also ties in a great deal to Eric's conversation about political education, because, you know, again, when you get taught economics, you get taught economics equals markets. And that's not that, you know, market-based economies are not very, very old if you think about human history. So yeah, it's a political education, it's a movement, so on and so forth.
Oh, this is Erin, and I just want to say that I see such a great question, Amaha, because I definitely feel like I've been in a movement. You know, Fertile Ground kind of comes out of, in my own experience, a history of even like the work of Black Workers for Justice in North Carolina. And so it's even birthed in my way. I feel like it's birthed of movement. I feel like we are becoming a front line. So, you know, you have environmentalists, you have, you know, people working for reproductive choice, you have people working on ending the carceral state and rebuilding a new economy from the carceral state. You know, we've got folks working on land justice issues and land trust issues. And I see the Black cooperative movement as part of that tradition, as a front line. What's powerful about our front line is that we have actual members, which is not what a lot of other movement organizations all have. So for instance, you might see a legal organization that's structured as a nonprofit with a board and an executive director, but its members don't govern the nonprofit's board. Like, get very clear about the governance too. It stops, you know, in some ways in a nonprofit, but there's a lot of organizations structured that way. So I feel like we're unique in that we're a movement. We're unique in that we're governed by real human beings that are actual members that would identify as being a member of our organization. Because you have you sort of like in a fraternity or sorority, but there are Black organizations that say, oh, we have millions of members, but the person in the ground, they don't identify as a member of your actual organization. They're like somebody on your email list. So we're different in that way. We got human beings that vote, that have paid a share, and that, you know, and so you have 4,000, Fertile Ground has 700, and you add all of those up, we're going to get to the point where we have 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 members that are actually governing. And that's the vision that, you know, we have. And so the question is how we help everybody get there together instead of battling individually, like we always have been doing. And when I say battle individually, I mean, we have help, but not the help that I see in other national organizations for groups like ours, meaning people out here like fighting for our money, fighting for our templates. They are doing, I can do the work of Fertile Ground because somebody else is doing this movement aligning work on our behalf. That's a cooperator, you know, and that's what we need to get to, where we have that capacity and respect. And I would tell you that we're a powerful movement. We just don't have the powerful investment we deserve and have earned. And so that's kind of how I see that question, Amaha, and that, I mean, part of what you know, we are battling for, and I won't even say battling, because it's not even really a battle, because when you tell people, it's so crystal clear, we're just leaving our money on the table because we ain't telling people to give us our money. That's how I feel about that.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, like how we build the framework that works for us. You know what I mean? Eric, you want to say something?
Yes, family. Hey, look, y'all get me really, really excited. So for me, y'all, I think that I think, the original question, my answer to the original question is that no, I think that just like others have said, there's been assumption, right? That's where we are. But I do think that we deserve movement, right? We think about imagining and reimagining what we deserve. Again, I'm fresh off of y'all's last one, so you know what I'm saying? And I really appreciate both of you all, Erin and Amaha, and others on this call actually, who have kind of share your thoughts in such simplicity, thoughts that I've had that I haven't shared in that way. But my sensibility is that not only do we deserve it, but to Carlos's point, we have to be able to, I think, engage in movement in ways that consider all aspects of our lives. We have to think about political, social, spiritual, emotional, and otherwise. And I feel like, that for us, that really is our only chance of survival. Together, it's our way of being. You know what I'm saying? It is, whether we adopt it or not. And I think one of the classic and critical things that we have to be able to do is to delineate between Black, and this is another thing that's fresh on my mind. So you want to talk about being on one? This is one thing I'm on right now. Delineating between Black liberalism and Black liberation. You know what I'm saying? Like those are two different things. Sometimes sound alike. We sometimes use the same language, but getting clear about that without alienating people, but getting clear about what we're actually attempting to do. And if this co-op movement is doing that. So I'm gonna be quiet, but
you can't drop all those
talking
gems
about
and
water
things
holes,
on us.
right? If that is what we're doing, that's what I'm saying.
I say, yeah, you kind of going in that a little bit, but yeah, you dropped the jewel right there. You know what I mean? And get thanks, Carlos, for being on. You know what I mean? It was good to hear from you, and or Carol, sorry. One thing you got me thinking, like, I'm gonna make a proposal. I propose that by the end of this conference, you know what I mean, we don't have to define what movement is necessarily, or this, that, and other, but like, since we all have this underlying assumption that we're in this thing, that like, I want to be able to name it, right? Because like, I'm thinking about the Niagara conference and different Pan-African conferences and you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you come out with some things, you know what I mean? And I think we need to leave this with some work to do, but also some more shared understanding, right? Of how we're gonna, what is our North Star, you know what I mean? And it's already been an underlying assumption, but like I think making it visible and making it like, yeah, that's what this is, you know what I mean? It changes something.
Wow, so you all, we are coming down to our time now. I think we have 13 more minutes in this session. And we're grateful that you would spend this time with us. Maha, I heard your recommendation. I love when people make a recommendation. I just really love when people make a recommendation. Can I just speak to that for a minute? Instead of sitting there talking, they're like, I actually got an idea. Let me offer a recommendation. That we see ourselves as a movement and name that clearly. I would like to recommend that we offer it as a shared goal of our infrastructure too, that we begin to see ourselves and deepen ourselves as a movement and identify that in some way, shape, or form too. So I'd like to offer that.
I say, that's why I love you, Erin. So can I ask a clarifying question? I know, I apologize. I haven't looked real deeply into the agenda because of, everything going on here. Is there a space where we're having like in like an all gathering like we did, in the previous years? Is there like a time where we're all going to be gathered together where we could bring up this conversation?
Will that be today at 6? What is it, 6:30? We're all meeting. I don't know if that'd be the time to share it, but I think that we'll all be together. And this is how we collaborate, is by coming together and sharing our ideas.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I will definitely, that was not on my radar. 'Cause I'm gonna be at the market, but I will hop on at the market because I think it's important, you know what I mean? And I was jealous because I wanted to I wanted to hear some of the elders in the conversation too.
Yeah,
What up,
no, right?
Jasmine?
Listen. We were gonna try to end early, but we got into talking. Hey, Jasmine, everybody, this is Dr. Jazz. This is our leader from the National Black Student Justice
This is
Alliance.
the leader.
No, no,
This
no,
is the
no,
leader.
no,
Oh,
This
there's
this
another. Oh,
is-
these are the leaders. So we want to look at
Hold up.
discussions, you all. We
Yeah.
want to. I'm gonna show you our screen. Look at our screen. I'm gonna show you our screen, everybody. Let's show them our work while we was working.
Oh.
Look at this screen right here. Where do we go?
We were on the elder panel. We were listening to them.
Look at that. Can you see that?
Hey, backbone.
The top. Did you see that? Isn't that dope? These are National Black Food and Justice Alliance Executive Director and our fearless leader, Dr. Jazz, with the cooperative support. So we want to thank y'all for being with us and helping us get this far. This is real life right here.
Right. And you hopped on perfect time. So we had a question that you might be able to answer. So we have a question on the table, and between the two amazing minds, I'm sure you'll have an answer, or you'll be points in the right direction. Have we named that what all this that we're doing is actually movement? Like the Black co-ops are like development is a movement? Because like a lot of us, we've assumed that, but we want to know, like, has that been like named as like, that's what it is?
Who has the authority to name that though, other than us?
I mean, we name it collectively. Who has the authority to not name it? You know what I mean? Like
1 p.m. It is hereby ordained. 1:21
Central Time.
Central Time. Thursday, May 13th, 2021. It is here and ordained that we are absolutely a movement.
Absolutely.
I say,
We got the power. We got the power.
And I'm a priest, so I have the authority to make that.
We ain't asking no more,
We're
right,
not
brother
asking
Erin?
for no permission. We are a movement. There you go.
I say, that's
Brother
why you're
Erin,
my leader.
We ain't
There
asking
it
no
is.
more. I love it. Yeah. I don't know if it's been necessarily named a movement. I know that, other people have claimed a movement or originated, food trusts or food cooperatives, but yeah, we're here for some reclamation. I don't know if y'all heard my welcome today, but that's what we're here for. Reclamation, Black-led food co-ops, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And then if I can add to that, so yeah, 100%, we've tried to do some interventions around defining movements. Erin, I know I love defining stuff. And so and then we got Baba Jamu, Mama Rukia on here. So I know y'all can dig in around these definitions. But, one of the definitions we talk about in terms of a movement is leadership development, base building, organizing, political education, political orientation, and having a vision where we're collectively moving forward. And I see 100% that definition relating to what we're all doing together. And so that's why I would define that as a movement.
I say. So like, I think everybody on this call agrees too, right? And the reason we're asking is that, like, if that is a shared understanding, then like how we're building our infrastructure based upon that shared understanding, because we talked about the directory and different things. So like how that like frames how we interact amongst each other, you know what I mean? And within our local communities too, and so yeah.
And then real quick, if I can just say directly to you, Amaha, congratulations.
You know it. Yes.
Yeah, we appreciate it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it did. The weirdest thing is that it didn't come real to me until we had our first customer was an elder on a walker. And like as far as that walked in the doors on, and it was amazing. And it didn't become real until that moment though. I mean, I've been in there 1,000 times, you know what I mean? But it didn't seem real until like we opened those doors for real. And then it started to sink in like, wow, like we truly did this together, you know? So yeah.
And then you were out there bringing in carts, bringing it back into the store. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Whatever we gotta do to get it done, right?
Amaha for me, you know, when we started Fresh Moves here, it was a mobile market. It's still going, y'all. I had the pleasure of going to see it. It's a beautiful thing to see, you know, the legacy still continuing. I think for me, when I picked up that first shopping cart was when it became real. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw your picture of a mango
yes.
on Facebook. Yeah. And we sold out of mangoes our first round too. I remember that too. So it's a beautiful thing to see all your dreams and your planning and all of that become very concrete for our people. Just deep congratulations.
That's it. Yeah. And the hope too. For me, like, you know, when people realize the power they have, that to me is just the most amazing thing, man. You know, and so yeah, I'm thankful to see multiple communities realizing our power. You know what I mean? And that goes to what Brother Jama was saying, is that we gotta make sure that like we all talk to each other, but we gotta make sure that our bases are talking to each other, right? And so like that's why I've been trying to figure like how to strengthen that communication, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Back to that movement building question.
Exactly. That's how we got there. Actually, we got there like through that conversation. Yeah, for sure.
What does Eric say? I see Eric Jackson on the phone. Do you agree with this movement building, Eric?
Get it.
Spot.
Oh, 100. I mean, we wouldn't be here otherwise.
All right, keeping the flame.
I say.
He said, "Blaze black liberalism."
No.
Light it on fire and watch it burn.
There we go.
Oh, man. Amaha, we're grateful for y'all's time. I was gonna show you this last slide one more time so you all will see what we talked about, our little synthesis, right? And then what's gonna happen is Dr. Jazz, if you're on this call, I think for the most part, we try to make sure we get everybody's information as it relates to the next step. You're gonna be in touch, right, Dr. Jazz?
Definitely. For your leader, I gotcha.
Yeah, and if you want to be involved in the coordinating of this infrastructure that we're talking about, and I mean literally live, Dr. Jazz needs to have your email address so she can follow up and make sure you're invited to the governing meeting. The first governing meeting for the Collective Courage work is going to be next month. And we're looking to set the date. We haven't set it yet, right, Dr. Jazz? But we're going to set it. And the Collective Courage, we want to focus on working with all of the alliance and the cooperatives to meet these goals that we talked about. The directory or the newsletter, we got to prioritize and get to work. So we want to thank you guys so much. Amaha, what you want to say to close? Anything you want to say to close us out? Anybody have words of wisdom or anything? Since we wisdom
I'm just grateful, and you know, now's our time, man. I think we need to leave here with like some like clear marching orders, you know, in some kind of way, you know what I mean, that we continue the conversation.
Do you mean from this call specifically, or do you mean from the entire conference?
From the conference. It seemed like this conference had like momentum and it's historic, right? And so like how are we harnessing this space that we're gathering in, you know what I mean, over these next couple of days, right? To really create a framework of how we move forward.
So I have a question with that, or a contribution to that. One is, this is to you, Erin. Does everybody know about this brilliant Collective Courage Fund that they can all pull out their checkbooks right now and cut a check to contribute to this fund? I'm just curious. Does everybody know that we can contribute to a collective pot benefiting Black food co-ops right now and can take out their credit card and make a payment to donate to this fund? I'm just curious, Erin. It's like a pass the collective plate, pass the plate right now.
Jesse Jackson ain't got nothing
That
on
is why
Donna.
you are the leader and we follow you.
I put the links in the chat.
I'm just curious. I want to know. We're excited. We need to contribute monetarily to this excitement to make sure that we are all collectively benefiting from the resources to make sure that all of our endeavors are successful. And so in order to do that, we will take contributions. We will take all the things that fold.
That jingle. That jangle.
And that jangle.
There we go.
You got some jangle.
Y'all. I just want to note too, because you just saw a real live example about what having national infrastructure would do. Imagine on all the calls that we need to go on in the future, having somebody remind you to make your ask, make sure that they put in the chat, you know, the links, like all of the stuff that you even just saw when they came on at the end. I just want to acknowledge that's what it's like when somebody supports your work as infrastructure. Yeah, I love y'all so much. I love Black people. I love all Black people. I love Black people everywhere on the planet. I love all people. I have a super sweet spot for Black people, but I do love all people. I want to say thank you guys. I want to thank, can we just thank the entire Gem City crew, all of the leaders and everybody who opened a co-op so that we can see it live this weekend. Can we encourage brother Amaha to take a nap? Because that brother is tired. He's looking good, tired. I know he's sleeping, walking. He's walking, he's asleep walking on his feet. We want to thank you for that. My brother, you want to close us out?
Yeah, give thanks. It's good seeing everybody. You know, I love being in this space. You know, I'm thankful for Deb and everybody who helped emerge the space. And thank you, Javin, for all your work. And yeah, I guess I'll see everybody tonight or whatever. But is it 6 or 6:30?
It's 6 p.m. Eastern, so 7:30. We'll be playing Kahoot, Black trivia game. And we'll be freedom dreaming and, you know, just conversing, collectively building some power. So can't wait to see y'all this afternoon.
Love it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you, Deb, for your organization too.
And thank you for everybody for your support, man. The outpouring has been, you know, it's been love, man. I mean, really. Even Little Africa, they came down from Cleveland yesterday, man, and like we're bagging groceries and putting down the 6 feet apart sign on the floor. I mean, it's like, you know, it was just love, man. So yeah, I thank you.
We thank you. Okay, you guys have a great afternoon. We're closing out. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Peace.
That went good. That's good. Okay, you have to wait like the captain. Stay